Hello and welcome to Fall Food Friday. This month is Apple Month, and today we're going to do a recipe from this book, Apples from Harvest to Table by Amy Pennington. If you are interested in this recipe, check out this book. And today we are going to make an apple cake, a whole wheat apple and yogurt cake. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is turn your oven onto 350 and grab a bundt pan, and you'll want to grease it nicely. And let's start by getting some nice whole wheat flour. And to start with, we're doing a Streusel Topping. And this is all-purpose unbleached flour. We have dark brown sugar. Let me just show you what it looks like. Not mixed yet. Granulated sugar. We have some fresh ground cloves. We're going to do a pinch of salt. And I'm just going to get the flour and sugars a little mixed up first. And if you've done a Streusel topping, you know that you want it to be kind of little small pieces, and the butter and the flour and sugar and spices to be nice and mixed together. So I'm making sure I get all the little clumps of brown sugar all integrated here. And then what I've done is, this is softened butter. This is half a cup or 1 stick. And I've cut it up a little bit. And now this is the fun part. You take your hands and you squish. And you just keep on doing that. You can see it's starting to kind of get integrated a little bit. And it doesn't look like much now, but just give it a minute and we will have a yummy Streusel topping for our cake. So this is about halfway, and in a minute it will be all done. And here I'm just basically grabbing it and squishing it through your hands. So if you've got little ones, this is actually really fun to do if you've got little toddlers around. This is the fun part. If you don't feel like doing this, you can do this part in a food processor. It works pretty well. Just pulse it. All right. So it should kind of look like that. Okay, so now for the next step, you'll need 2 separate medium bowls. Here's one and here's the other. So for the first step, I've already done this, but you'll want to take 2 apples and cut them up like so in little pieces. We'll put them in a bowl, and now we're gonna coat our apples with some more brown sugar and cinnamon. And I like a flatted spoon like this because it tends to coat the apples a little bit better. So just breaking up the brown sugar here, and we just kind of toss it. Just make sure all the apples get coated in the cinnamon and the brown sugar. So it's beginning to smell quite wonderful around here, and I hope you're going to be hungry to try this apple cake. Okay, so this is what it should look like when it's done. Let me move over here, and we're going to combine our flours. So we've got some more whole wheat flour, all-purpose unbleached flour, and then we're going to use some baking soda and baking powder, just 1 teaspoon each. And then finally, we're going to get a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. There we go. So when you're baking, you'll want to make sure you combine these really well, or you're going to get this bite of like baking powder and baking soda, and it's really bitter. So just make sure you blend your flours really well. And if you make a mess, wonderful, it does not matter. You're channeling your inner Julia child. All right, so when things are combined, they should look like this. If you haven't worked with whole wheat flour, so the color might be a little different for you, but it should just look like this. You should see the little specks of the whole wheat in your flour mix. All right, now for the next step, I've got 1/2 cup of cubed butter. You'll wanna make sure this is the right temperature, not too soft, not too hard. So it should look a little bit like this. And we're gonna add our granulated sugar. And if you have a hand mixer, you wanna put this on a low setting. And basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to combine the sugar and butter. And we'll be scraping down the sides as we go along to make sure everything's incorporated. When the butter and sugar is combined, it should look something like this. The next step is we're gonna wanna add the vanilla to this mixture. There we go. And then we're gonna wanna add the eggs one at a time. So I'm gonna do 1 egg and mix it a little bit, and then we'll mix the other eggs in as well. So, like that. We'll turn our mixer back on. And the important thing is just not to overmix. So just a little bit. And as you can tell, it's kind of changed color because of the egg. And we'll go ahead and do the other 2 eggs. Careful not to get a shell in there. All right. So just until it's combined, so a little bit like this. And then the next step is we're gonna add a little bit of our flour that we mixed together right here. And this just helps to not get everything in there together and have it be mixed well. So just a little bit of the flour in there. All right, at this point I'm going to just switch over to a spatula to kind of mix up everything. So clean those off. Put our eggs to the side, and I'm just gonna mix this by hand a little bit. Okay. Got all the dry. Now we're gonna add our yogurt. And I like to use the spatula at this point because we just scrape the sides of our measuring cups. And we'll just give it a stir a few times. And then we'll add our flour and keep stirring until everything is combined. All right, now we're gonna put it all together. You're gonna take 1/2 of your batter, and we're gonna wanna distribute it evenly in our bun pan here. So this one can be a little bit difficult because it's kind of thick, but you just kind of take some dollops of the batter and put it all the way around. That's what I found the best way to do this. Okay, and then this is also why I like to use a spatula. Just kind of try not to make too much of a mess. Kind of spread it evenly around to see if you need any more batter. You want to make sure it fills the whole bottom of the pan. And the sides in this case. Right. And if you're a perfectionist like me, try not to be. It will all be very yummy. All right, so when that's done, it should look a little bit like this. And then we're gonna take 2/3, so the majority of these apples, but you'll want a little bit left over. And we're gonna add that to the next layer of the cake here. And again, you're gonna wanna kind of spread them out evenly. like so. So just to give you an idea, kind of looks like this. And then the next step, we're putting the rest of the batter on, and we're gonna want to make sure that all the apples are covered. So just doing the same thing, but it does work best if you just kind of don't touch it as much. Do little dollops here and there to cover up the apples. And we're gonna want to kind of spread things around as much as we can here. Cover up all of the apples. All right, now we're getting towards the end, almost there. I can feel the oven behind me, definitely getting warm. Okay, so just like this, and then we're gonna just take the rest of our apples and kind of sprinkle them as evenly as we can. Scrape any of the brown sugar bits you might have left in the bowl. And then for the final step, once we've got all our apples in, as you remember, our first thing, the Streusel Topping. I like to just kind of take a handful, kind of like this, and just use your hand and your thumb and kind of sprinkle it on top. And cover the batter and the apples. And this will be a yummy topping for our cake. And if you get different size pieces, that's fine. This will just be a little unique. All right, you want to make sure no batter or apples or anything is peeping through. And it should look something like that. The final step we'll be putting it in the oven and cooking it for 50 to 60 minutes. So let's put it in the oven. I hear the timer. Let's see if it's ready. It's been 50 minutes already. It's hard to believe. Oh my goodness, this looks good. All right, so close up the oven here. All right, so we're gonna let this cool for about 15-20 minutes, and then we will cut in and be able to enjoy our apple cake.
Hi everybody, so continuing with our theme of apples, we are going to make some hot spice apple cider in a crock pot. So to start, I have here about 2 quarts of apple cider. I'm going to add to that 1 orange that's already sliced up. And I also have some cinnamon sticks and some whole cloves. So we're just going to give that a stir so it's all mixed in. I'm gonna cover that up. So I'm gonna let this sit for a few hours just so it gets nice and warm and all the flavors get incorporated. And we'll come back in a little bit to try it and see how it is. All right, it's been a while, so I'm just gonna give it a little test, see how it's doing. It smells great. I'm just gonna give it a stir. And at this time, you can go ahead and even just try a little bit just to make sure it's to your liking.